Get ready to have a good time. All right, here we go. This is exciting, isn't it?
All right, we're on. Hello, testing.
Welcome aboard the Dreamliner.
It's the only way to fly.
Spartans! What is your profession?
Podcaster? Podcaster?
Garry.
Here's a young speaker who is really in demand.
Don't let that go to your head, Garry.
But wait, there's more.
That's what I'm talking about.
He is Garry Meier.
Hey, GarrForce! It's the February 25th, 2022 edition of the Garry Meier Show Cocktail Hour Live.
Cocktails, woo, drinks.
We went wheels up at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, 4 Mountain, 3 Pacific. My reporting duties for MousePlanet.com took me to a galaxy far, far away this week. That's right, I got a look at Disney's brand new Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser. We'll talk about it on the show later today. In fact, I've been so busy since we were last all gathered around the cocktail hour that all I had time to record for this week's show opening is, of course, no matter where you are, it's time for a digital mimosa. So fasten your seatbelts, it's yappetizers and nonsense time. That's right, it's time to go wheels up on the GarrForce Live.
Thank you, Alan, for that wonderful opening. Yes, we're wheels up because I have kicked the tires and lit the fires. And that's how we get airborne. And there's one more step that has to happen. I'll bring that step on with Leslie in just a minute. It's the schnauzer riding the whale. That's what we do here. Yeah, look at that. That's the image I want you to keep as you listen. A lot of people have checked in already. I'm going to acknowledge some of them right now. Brian, he said, are we grabbing, oh, wait, there's protocol. Keely-Ann goes on first. That's right. Sorry. All right. Alan, if you could put Keely-Ann's text up there. If Putin had a schnauzer, we wouldn't need cocktails as badly as we do this week. Boy, ain't that the truth. What's wrong with this guy? I don't know about you, but my nervous system has just about had it. I was just getting into taking the mask off kind of permanently. I was going to put the mask away. I was putting the mask away, and now I'm putting Putin into the mix here. I don't know what the hell is going on. We're lighting one catastrophe off another. That's why we do this show every Friday, to give you a chance to go, screw it. I'm going to have a drink or whatever I need to make myself feel good, get away from the fugazi, the woozy, the wazi, and enjoy what I can into the weekend. And let's get that final step. Or, Alan, should we do what you want to do before I bring Leslie on? Yeah, everybody's gone. Okay, it's just us drinking.
You can't hear me? Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right. I said you want to run the thing, Garry?
The thing. Yes, you want to run the thing now. Run the thing.
Run the thing.
Run the thing.
Thanks, Garry. For those new to the show, Garry podcasts 5 days a week. All shows are available on GarryMeier.com, where you can sign up for the longer Tuesday and Thursday premium podcasts. On the website, you'll also find Garry's blog, merchandise, and even the Cocktail Hour live shows. While we're live streaming, comments are welcome on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can always text Garry at 773-888-2157. Regular charges apply. If you want to talk to Garry on the show, say so there, and we will try to work those details out with you. The GarrForce Live YouTube channel is the best place to stream all of our live shows and to catch up on those you may have missed. Please take a moment now to click subscribe on YouTube. It's free, and if you click the little bell icon next to the subscribe button, you can be notified when we're live. If you scan that QR code on the screen, it will take you there right now. Also, be sure to like and share the show on all of your favorite social media channels. It really does help the show, and for those who've done that already, thanks. I think that's everything, Garry. Back to you.
Thank you. All right, Leslie, come on. Let's get that condom off and get down to business.
How y'all doing?
There it
Got
is.
me a Curious Beast Chardonnay going here today. And
Okay. Ooh.
Okay, I'm feeling good
It's
about
ready
this,
for
you
some
guys.
popping. 3, 2.
Oh,
Boy,
ooh,
it hasn't shot that way, I don't think ever.
no.
Hey, here's something else that's good. There is sunshine pouring in to your room, and
Yep.
that's the first time we've seen it since we went into darkness a few months ago. It was a little light over the last couple of Fridays, but that's a nice sign right there.
Isn't
Sunshine
that? Oh.
pouring in.
Although it
Nice.
did snow yesterday.
Okay, well,
We're in that thing where it's like, I dress one way at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm
yeah.
dressed completely differently by about noon, and all bets
Well,
are off.
next week the two seasons are going to be fighting each other. March 1st is the start of spring, meteorological spring, and for several weeks it's those two seasons going, I'm still in charge. No, I'm in charge. And the only way to get through that on March 1st, which is Tuesday, which is Mardi Gras, is to stick your tongue deep in a punchki. The punchkis are flying. In fact, Brian commented, he said, are we grabbing punchkis or cannolis at the end of the show? I think we're going to have a little of both, whatever makes you happy. Wow, look at that. Look at that.
Ooh,
It's coming right in my
it's
face.
intimidating.
And that's not right yet. I'm not ready. Right in my face. All right,
So
Amy.
we've broken the big toe of winter. We have
And
broken the
the
kneecap.
The back
Okay.
is the last thing, and I reserve that for when we in the northern states get into 60-ish territory for a day or so, or we set the clocks ahead. Whichever comes first, that's the official breaking of the back of winter. We're
And that's
2/3 of
the
the way there.
13th. Yeah, so we're getting there.
Okay, did Ellen put something on the screen that is meant to mock the rest of us that live in
Yeah,
northern
pretty
states?
much.
It's 84 degrees in Orange County, Florida.
I'm sweaty.
Yeah, it's so hot down here already. Okay.
I'll be
stop
sweaty
it.
by the end of the show. So
Yes. Well, oh, by the way, truth dribbles out after wine dribbles in.
Wow.
Yeah. Keep that. Now, that
Okay.
reminds me, I've got one of those
In vino
Shakespeare insult.
veritas with a twist.
Yes, I have one of those Shakespeare insult band-aids on that you gave me, and the insult on the band-aid is, I'll beat thee, but I should infect my hands.
Ooh.
Bill Shakespeare, crazy guy.
Meet that meffer, isn't he? Yeah.
Let me say hello to Amy from St. Louis, David. He's from Oak Lawn, Illinois, and he says the schnauzers are wild there. Anthony, Doug, now I'm going to go to the screen door, take a look through the screen door. Tracy, who she sent me this, the schnauzer riding the whale. Thank you. Love it. Lloydster, he's grabbing his ankles. I think we all are until we figure out what the fuck Putin is doing. Doug and Lemond, Leamond, Lemond Allen.
Raymond.
Barbara.
Raymond, yeah.
Get your schnauzer, their peeps. Supply is low. We're heading into peep season. In 4 weeks, it's Easter, and we got to get the peeps out. Let's see. What is Michael saying?
It's a little
here?
more than 4 weeks, isn't it?
Is it? I don't.
It's happening.
Okay, after Ash Wednesday, isn't it? How long is it?
40 days.
40 days. Yeah, that is longer than 4 weeks, isn't it? All right.
Yeah.
I should pop the Bible open this weekend. Hi, Gary. Just found you last week. This is only the second time I've had the chance to listen since leaving Illinois. So please forgive me for asking what happened to Carnarbles on Friday. Well, this is Carnarbles on Friday. That's what she's holding. That's what I have. I have my Manhattan. These are Carnarbles. We used to call them Carnarbles back in the day. Now they're just cocktails and things. And Buford is fetching on all fours and cleared for takeoff in Highland Park, Illinois, the home of Michael Jordan's unsold house. If you have an extra $14 million and need a regulation basketball court and 36,000 square feet, that's your place.
Do you think he'd negotiate down to like 13.5 at this point? He started at what, 29 mil?
Yeah, it was in the 20s. How much wiggle room do you have, Michael? Yeah. Okay. As they say, or would say in a Progressive insurance commercial, I can't imagine the heating bill. Can't imagine it.
Who's
Donna,
gonna
David.
shovel around that place?
Yeah, who's gonna? That's a long driveway. I mean, I don't know. All right. So later, Ryan will do the Wisconsin report. You have some stories you put together. We'll tell you what to put in the queue for the condom, and you will reveal the other gift later. Now, what do you want to do?
It's up to you. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going with if you want to do it right now, we can start getting people in the queue pretty soon. So of course we've got the wine condoms,
Hmm.
but I went with a theme. So you use the wine condom while there's wine in the bottle,
Yes.
but I got one of these cool little corks with the fairy lights. So when the bottle's empty, you can turn it into a lamp.
That's nice.
Is
So
it? So
you
all
stick
you
the
have to do,
yeah.
you stick
Explain it.
what?
You stick
S
the cork
yeah,
in the bottle, and it's got lights on it.
it's got fairy lights, and so, all you have to do is provide the wine, but here we're giving you 2 ways to cover it.
Nice. Wow.
Ta-da!
That is
You
sweet.
can do that with a whiskey bottle, a
That is
gin
sweet.
bottle.
And I have been told that Price is Right is giving away Porsches all week. Okay.
I saw a Maserati last.
Maserati. Yeah.
So how
all
about
right.
we go with cover your bottle as our phrase that
That's
pays?
fine. That's fine. You just
Hashtag cover your bottle.
tap that into the comment section, and then at the end of the show, Ellen will push the button. The computer will pick the winner. If you've won recently, please let somebody else win. Okay? How about that?
Come On Down was even an answer on Jeopardy today, so we're in some kind of weird vortex, I got a fun
Yeah,
feeling.
I might have to issue a vortex warning when things are randomly connecting that you wouldn't think would connect. It happens in cycles, and I think we're in a cycle right now. So a vortex warning would be appropriate, and I think I
Sounds
will
like a
issue
good
that.
idea.
What a week. I
Mhm.
mean, I thought, okay, 2 years of a pandemic, we're going to get out of that soon. And the pandemic, the COVID thing is almost backburnered. Who's
Yeah.
talking about that right now? Anybody?
And here they're saying that they're lifting mandates in this state and that state, but I really don't think anybody's paying attention to any of that anymore.
Well, if we're going to all blow up in a few weeks, why do we care about a mask at this point? This is what I mean. What's the point? It's a joke, folks. This whole existence is a joke. Therefore, enjoy the day. You can't get involved with all this stuff. We're lighting one catastrophe off another. There's no end to
Like
this.
cigarettes, huh? Like a
Yeah.
chain smoker
Yeah.
would.
All right, pandemic, war, blah, blah, blah. Are we not talking about Britney Spears' conservatorship anymore?
No,
Remember
but
when that
she
was a
did
topic?
she inked a deal for something
Okay,
recently.
but remember when that was on the news as if
Oh,
it mattered?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And the Olympics, look at that. They just
That
went into the ether and nobody, it's like Olympics schmolympics.
it was
They're done.
interesting. I don't know if it was that interesting, but when I turned NBC on the other night and there were no Olympics, I thought, are they over? I didn't even, I saw 5 minutes of it and they just came and went and nobody cared.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to luge or bobsled or freestyle or curl or watch that or whatever. Okay. Got my guest ready to go. Leslie, you remember John from a few months back. John's going to get us pumped up, I think, because John writes books about what to do when you're trying to sell yourself, your idea, or whatever. And I think a little guidance never hurts. John Livesay, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Garry and Leslie. Great to see you both again. Thanks for having me back on.
No problem. You have a new book out, and boy, I'm wondering if it's The Sail is in the Tail, if that's the title of it.
It is, for people who are listening and not watching. It is indeed. It is a fable set here in Austin. So I thought I'd channel my best Garry and say, well, let me play on words here with the word tail spelled T-A-L-E, since it's a fable.
And you are living in Austin, Texas.
Yes.
And that is a hip little area. Everybody seems to talk about it. And I hear a lot of migration from your Californias, your Midwest, going down to Austin. And is that kind of, and I don't know if you can say it's ruining anything because you migrated from
I did
where?
2 years ago, yes.
Where'd you come from?
I came from California 2 years ago here. I moved here March 1st, right before the pandemic. And it was a lot easier to shelter in place here than it was in California compared to what my friends were going through in terms of, you could still get haircuts here, basically.
What was your motivation to, where are you from originally, John?
Originally, I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, but I spent, decades in California. And I just thought, for my third act, I'd like to try something new, something a little less crowded. I don't have to live in an urban area anymore. I had a career in corporate sales, so I was always having to call on big clients like Guess Jeans and Lexus that were based in Los Angeles. And now as a sales keynote speaker, I can live anywhere and travel or do it virtually. And so I thought, where could I go that would be fun? And the tagline of Austin caught my attention: keep it weird. Because I like that energy, that sense of everything goes and celebrated. So that plus no state income tax and the cost of homes, all those things make it a lot more palatable. There's a lot of people who go to school here at University of Texas and decide to stay because it's such a charming city and will take less pay than they would if they went to a bigger city. And I thought I couldn't have done the career I had living here. There's not any clients that I could have called on for advertising back in the day. So I'm really happy to be here. It's friendly people, amazing food, great music, of course, it's known for, and a lot of parks and lakes, which is a nice surprise. I thought it was going to be much flatter than it is.
And the cost of living, if you'd like to expand on that a little bit, say you have, and we'll just throw a number out here, $500,000 to spend on a house in Los Angeles, what you could get and what you could get in Austin for $500,000.
Okay. Well, I'm not even sure you could get a house. Maybe you could get a 1-bedroom condo out in the valley in Los Angeles for $500,000.
And out in the valley, for those of us who don't know the geography, how far is that from civilization?
Oh, a good hour and a half drive.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And, it's not known for the best weather. It's a little hotter than all that stuff. Not a lot of culture. And 500, well, I bought a house here last year, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, about 1,600 square feet for $320,000.
Really?
Now, I'm not in the heart of Austin. I'm about 30 minutes out. If you want to be in the heart of everything, you would be paying, $600 or $700 at least. But it's your money goes a lot further here.
I don't know if you watch those shows on HGTV that Chip and Joanna Gaines, and they're based out of Waco. How far is Waco from Austin?
A couple hours, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a big triangle.
They take people around to show them houses, and they buy one out of the 3 they show them, and they come up with these prices. And for those of us who've lived near big cities or in big cities and are now inundated with these crazy ass prices for houses and condos,
right?
They'll go to a nice looking house, $125,000, and I'm thinking, wow, and you get land and everything, and I'm sure Waco has enjoyed a real surge since they put this show on the air, because if you're looking to get out of these expensive states or cities, that's not a bad thing. If you want a little slower lifestyle and have more money in the bank.
And there's plenty to do here. So it's not like you're in a cultural desert. It's arts and music and theater and all that good stuff. So there's definitely downtown scene. You give yourself a raise when you move to a state that doesn't have state income tax. And gas is cheaper here than California by about $1 or more. So all those things definitely add up.
But that's not why you're here. You're not here
to promote Austin. Well, ironically, I set the book in Austin because the book is in a way a love letter to Austin.
Okay. So there is a tie.
Like, and the characters go there, certain coffee shops and things.
Okay. So the sale is in the tail. And when we last talked, you were talking about you're the pitch whisperer.
Yes.
And you have a feeling that you put in your book that the best way to go into things is to have your story intact, to cut yourself out of the pack when you're pitching yourself or a product. But you were also talking about, when we were discussing your first book, going to Thanksgiving dinner, and now everybody's in these camps politically.
Yes.
And you had some suggestions for that on how to go and not start a fire.
Exactly. Well, the concept of asking somebody a story about how they met. Let's say you're at a Thanksgiving situation and you're going to get asked certain questions like, well, you've gained weight since we saw you last year, or why aren't you married yet? You have the choice as the movie director of your own life in your head running that movie to say cut, because your initial reaction might be to be very reactive. And I say, just say cut and ask them a question back. Like, tell me the story of how you and dad met again. If they start pushing you about why aren't you married yet. So that ability to Not be so reactive where your first reaction is anger and frustration, and get into a place where you're in control of how you want to respond. Empowers you in every situation, whether it's your career or your personal life.
And one of the concepts in this book is something I like because it gives it some framework. And I like having, I guess it's because of 8 years of Catholic grammar school, I got some really good discipline beat into me. And at the time, I thought it was severe. But as I got older, I appreciated the fact that the nuns, while maybe they were a little too aggressive, what they were telling us was you have to have discipline. You can't really just go whatever every time. There has to be some focus. And you've decided that there's the 5-5-5 way to handle things. Let's go through that, John.
Sure. Let's say the slightest thing happens to you. Maybe somebody cuts you off in traffic. I've seen people lose their mind over that. For me personally, that doesn't really bother me that much. But if it does bother you, you have the choice to say, is this going to matter 5 minutes from now? Because what's happening is a lot of people take that personally, like, how dare they cut me off, versus, oh, I almost got hit. So your anger reacts or fear kicks in, but you have the ability to say, is this going to matter 5 minutes from now? No, it's literally going to be in my rearview mirror, so I can let it go. But if something else happens, maybe somebody says something that really frustrates you and you've asked them 6 times not to do something or say something and they keep doing it, and you just get angrier and angrier, and you're so frustrated you don't know what to do, we can zoom out again and say, well, will this matter 5 hours from now? Recently, I was flying back from Columbus, Ohio from a speaking gig to Austin, and I had to change planes in Atlanta, and then they had closed the Austin airport here for ice. So I had to spend the night in Atlanta, and well, that wasn't on my itinerary. And so I realized, you know what? I'm just going to 5-5-5 this. Zoom out. Is this going to matter 5 days from now? No. So do I need to get all angry and stressed out about something nobody can control, like weather? No. All right, great. So I get through the Atlanta airport, which is huge compared to the Austin airport. It takes forever to get through. And I go outside. I get in a cab to go to the hotel. And 5 minutes into the cab ride, Gary, the cab has a flat tire on the side of the road. And I thought, really? What else is going to happen today? And my phone battery's dying. The guy who's driving the cab he can't figure out how to get me, it's up to me to get another ride. And I'm looking at my battery dying and I'm thinking, all right, don't play the horror movie out in your head that you're going to be stranded here or something horrible is going to be happening. No one's going to come pick you up on the side of the road in an Uber, whatever. And I went, 5-5-5, 5 minutes from now. Yeah, I'm still going to be stressed out. 5 hours from now, hopefully I'll be in my hotel room having a shower and forgetting this ever happened, or certainly not being stressed out about it. And then we have things that really are more upsetting than that. And so you're like 5 minutes, yes. 5 hours from now, yes. How about 5 days from now? Especially if you're in sales or you're selling yourself, where you want to get a job or a raise or whatever it is, and you get the no that you thought was going to be a yes. If you can, instead of staying stuck on that and then discussing it with everybody for days at a time, just say, you know what? 5 days from now, so many other things are going to happen to me, most of them great, that I'm giving this one thing way too much energy to stay stuck. So 5 minutes from now, 5 hours from now, 5 days from now. And the good news is, if you think something's really going to devastate you, like I remember when my dad died, I was obviously very sad. And I wish I had thought of this tool at the time, because 5 years now later, I'm still sad, but not as sad as I was when he first died. And when you're in those feelings of intense sadness, anger, frustration, even just disappointment, if you can zoom out, however many times you have to go with the 5 to go, I'm not always going to be this sad, frustrated, or sad, it really helps you become more resilient.
You have to open up the viewfinder there and not say, this is it. I'm stuck for I don't know how long. Right. You're giving yourself a timetable, which is good. So you go 5 minutes, hours, days, then weeks, months, years.
Yes.
And start getting some distance. As they say, tragedy plus time does that. And here we are this week with this whole Putin-Ukraine thing. And I'm looking, as I'm sure a lot of people are, for some release on, okay, we're coming out of COVID for 2 years. My God, where's the moment where we can just go, hey, things are great for a while? And then I think about 9/11 and how we got through that.
Yes.
And while at the moment it seemed like the sky was falling completely, as the days went on, and now we're 21 years past it, and it's there, but it's not where it killed us. It didn't
Or we're not
cripple us
living in fear of
entirely.
every potential building or bridge being, attacked again, which is what
Right.
we were in the moment. And the same thing with the pandemic. When that started, there were some people go, this will be over in 2 weeks. And then somebody, no, it's going to be 18 months because they got to come up with a vaccine. And I went, 18 months? I can't even wrap. That's really, 555ing something. It's still between, 5 days and 5 years or 5 weeks or 5 months. But when we don't know when something's going to end, that uncertainty is really the source of a lot of our anxiety. And that's why it's so hard to wait when you have interviewed for a job. Am I going to get this or not? Or you've asked somebody out a second time and you're like, are they going to want to go out with me again? Or you are in sales selling yourself to get a big job or a big sale, and you're waiting after your presentation or your pitch to hear yes or no. You being anxious about it does not help the outcome. And the same thing is true in this situation with the potential, we don't know how long it's going to happen. It could be over in a matter of days, or it could go on like other wars have gone on and on. I remember when the Afghanistan war started and we were all thinking, what is this? Really? It's going to go. You couldn't have predicted how long that's going to go on. So if we, like you said earlier at the top of the show, we can only control what we can control, which is our reaction to something. And once we zoom out a little bit, 5 days, 5 weeks, and we said, what is my best response here? So my first reaction of anger and fear is not going to be this horror movie that I'm playing out in my head, because the irony of all that is, what if I never get to speak live again? I remember having that thought, right? There'll never be any more live events. I mean, I have an imagination. I can make a real big horror movie, right? Well, you loved what you did and that's over. You're never going to make another dime speaking again. And, luckily that's not the case. There was virtual that came along and now I'm back speaking in audiences. But in that moment, you can really go down the downward spiral if you let yourself. And so now I'm going to 555 this. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm guessing that 5 days or 5 weeks or even 5 years from now, it still won't be this.
Right. And let's talk about the 3 stories that you like to put together: personal, company, and a case story. Let's expand on that.
Well, the mistake most people make, Gary, is that they just, if you're trying to sell something, you're like, oh, well, let me tell you all about the product and the details about how it works. And you don't tell anything about yourself or who you're working for. And you have to sell yourself first, because people buy from people they trust and like and know. So the story of origin, I call it. What is it that got you into whatever? How did, your story? How did you get into radio? Did you always want to do it? That little nugget of how you started your journey and what inspired you. Was it a person? Is what makes people feel like, oh, I got a sense of who Garry is as a person. And then the company. And I don't care if it's just you and your own company. You still have a name of your company, even if it's just your last name in consulting. But most people have a name for their company and certain values or culture that you're trying to create. If you've got more than one person on your team, that is a story that you can share, not about how big you are, how many offices you have, but more about, here's what we stand for. Here's some of our values. And this is what it looks like when we put those values into action, where we volunteer or whatever it is. I remember Code Science company had always been having people virtually work from home. But when the pandemic hit, those people were like, hey, my kids are here and I am not used to working from home and having my kids at home. So they said, one of our values is flexibility. The first, Monday meeting after the pandemic, everyone gets to bring their kids on the Zoom call. So we realized that you're juggling all this. So I thought that was a great example of values coming into action. And then the final one is the story of what your product has done for someone else. So most people, again, go into what the product does and how it works, but people aren't really buying that. They're buying, what does it do for them? And when you tell a story that somebody sees themselves in, that's where the magic happens. And I can certainly go into the details of that, but I wanted to just cover those 3 sort of on a high level first.
All right. Well, I think you've given us a nice taste of how to go about this once again. And the book, as we see on the poster behind you, The Sale is in the Tail. And I like having these little tools to to go by. I really do, because
Great.
sometimes you get all over the highway and you need some guardrails.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you've done here. John, always a pleasure. We will talk again in the future.
Thanks, Garry.
John Livesay. All right. Leslie, I'll give you 5 minutes to put any nonsense away and get into the show here.
Because 5 hours from now, I'm going to be, well, on a couch probably and getting ready for bed. And
Yeah.
5
In
days
5
from
hours?
now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I mean, 5 hours is still Central Time, only about 10:30.
10:30?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, the
And
evening
I
is
think
still
I'll be in a
young.
really nice headspace still.
The
'Cause
evening is still young, right?
you got it.
Okay. What can we do right here so I can focus on what I want to talk about, which is the stories that you teased this morning on the show we posted. What were those? And we'll get to the heart of them.
To be honest, I don't think that we got to what I was teasing, but
No,
I
we
do.
talked about a couple stories that you're going to expound on.
Did I? Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Wow.
Oh, let's see.
Listen, it's
One
been
of them.
rough. The last 48 hours, it's woo. It's hard to
Well,
concentrate.
one of them, though, obviously, was this. The government of Colombia taking some decisive action now, finally curbing the population of non-native hippos. The animals were first introduced back in the 1980s by Pablo Escobar, who had them smuggled into his compound because he could. Following Escobar's death, the hippos were allowed to go free, taking up residence in nearby waterways and reproducing like crazy. I think there was something like 3 or 4 hippos to begin with. There are now 130 or so of them. And at this rate, they say the number is likely to be around 400 by the end of the decade. Currently, the plan is to begin capturing and sterilizing the hippos. And if need be, they said they will cull the ones impinging on populated areas.
As we've talked about, the drug lord, he's got all this cash and he wants to enjoy it, but he has to stay within a certain narrative as far as the government. Now, that's not true in Colombia. They basically, in some of these areas, run the whole situation. But in the United States, if you're doing that, you can't flash it around. But if you have 5,000 acres in Colombia, you need some animals that nobody else can get because you're a drug lord, and you get the hippo, the giraffes, the
Exactly.
emus.
A nice polar bear, if you
Yeah.
can lay your hands on
Yeah,
one.
penguins, even though they're not really part of that climate. That's what you do because you got the cash. All right.
Well, maybe somebody would like to pick up Hank the Tank for a very reasonable price these days. Earlier this week, we had the story about this 500-pound black bear named Hank the Tank, who's been breaking into homes around Lake Tahoe. It turns out, well, he's not the only one responsible for all the damage. DNA tests now prove that there are actually 3 different bears, all bearing a very striking resemblance, working the area around Lake Tahoe. But the question remains, what should be done to make them stop? The California Department of Fish and Wildlife is now bowing to public pressure, promising to trap and tag the bears and move them to a more suitable habitat. At one point, they were talking about killing them, and the public says, we got no stomach for that right now.
I always ask the question, who was there first? What was there first, the airport or the houses? And you can't move next to the airport and then complain about the noise. What was there first? I'm guessing the bears were there first. And then all these developments happen. Same thing in Florida. And I'm sure Alan can back us up. And in fact, has shown us pictures of alligators along the side of the road when he's walking around. But they've been there forever. It was swamp, Everglade type land in Central Florida. And then Walt Disney went out and bought all of it and made Disney World. But that stuff is still in there. You can't get all of it out.
No, nor do you want to.
No.
I mean,
but
and
then
it turns out,
but then they complain there's a bear in my backyard. But okay.
yeah. And like they were saying too, maybe if some of these residents were a little bit more careful with the kind of food they leave laying around and what they do with their garbage, this wouldn't be an issue either. I like the fact that this proves that eyewitnesses are never to be trusted. Poor Hank the Tank is getting blamed for like 150 break-ins. He's like, I'm only
Hey.
responsible for like 50 of them.
Okay. I just picture the thought cloud above Hank's head. Oh, all of us black bears look alike. Oh, is that what it is? Huh?
Put me in a lineup. Yeah. Tell which one of these is the real Hank the Tank.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay, we all look alike. Oh, really? That's wrong.
We have some breaking news. Vladimir Putin is a very bad man. He's disliked by just about every human in the free world, and he's disliked by a lot of Russians too. Just want you to know.
That's a breaking news story. All right.
A bridge tender in Florida is out of a job after opening a drawbridge in Palm Beach County, despite the occupied car that was still in harm's way. Recently released video shows just how close that motorist came to disaster during the event back in October. And though the car sustained quite a bit of damage when it nosedived into that area between that gap between the bridge and the street, the car's driver was not injured.
Oh, that's good. And Leslie, we'll keep an eye on this story and follow up if there's any more information.
I just followed up on a freaking bear story. Of course, I'm going to follow
Of
up on
course
these
we
stories.
will.
Unlike those
the
other
car,
people.
the car did drive off at the end of it. I've seen that video. It's pretty wild. Once the bridge went back to horizontal, the car was able to drive away.
It kind of popped it back up. Yeah, it looked like it was going to flip, and then it just kind of was able to pop out. The other story, and I didn't write it out, but we did tease it, and I'm sorry, but there was a plane crash in Virginia this week. A guy put down his Cessna in an emergency landing on Redrum Drive. So it's a name theory. Does anybody remember The Shining?
Yes, I think a lot of people do. Red Rum is murder backwards.
Why would you name a road Redrum Drive? But
for a lot of reasons, it's murder backwards, and it's a liquor reference. You don't want that near highways, do you? Not that encourages people to just drink, but you're right. It's got some clumsiness to it. Ram.
And a university professor in Brazil is facing charges of human organ trafficking for selling laboratory specimens to an artist in Singapore. This story, follow me here. The professor at Amazonas State University allegedly sold a plastinated human hand and 3 placentas to an Indonesian designer named Arnold Putra, who has made a name for himself by creating designer accessories made from human remains. A few years back, Putra made headlines for a line of handbags he made out of a combination of human spines and alligator tongues. In that case, the artist claimed he went through all the proper channels to procure the spines from a medical surplus provider in Canada.
Unless the Kardashians get into wearing this stuff, I'm not going to get into it.
So
they'll tell me if it's a trend.
I got a handbag. I mean, it's made out of a hand.
Yeah. I got a spinal column necklace. Nice.
What do you got that you can make out of a placenta? I really need something.
Nice placenta.
So some people are apparently you can buy some of this stuff, but you got to go through the right channels.
Of course you do. Wow. What a really... where do you begin with this whole whatever this is?
And I should tell you, it's been hard finding wacky stories because sorting through all the Ukraine stuff, and it's all there was one bright story that came out of Ukraine. If you saw the video, it was nightmarish. A tank runs over this little car with an elderly gentleman inside, and people are screaming. I mean, those tanks, it turns out, can do a lot of damage. Who would have guessed? But anyway, some men start running to the car, and then they apparently don't have Jaws of Life. So maybe we should take up a collection to get them some Jaws of Lives out there, because they were using crowbars and everything, but they pulled the man out of there, and he is expected
He's going to be
survive.
okay. They don't have them with their fire department, or the fire department wasn't. How do you know they don't have them? Did the fire department show up and go, we don't know what Jaws of Life are?
Well, the fire department is probably now fighting on the front lines.
That's true.
So they're
really busy.
Everything around Kyiv these days is a little jinky.
All right. Thank you, Leslie. Shall
You're
we
welcome.
visit with Ryan? Ryan, hello.
How are you?
Good. I swear to God, that haircut looks like you're joining the Marines or something.
I just got it. I just got the sides cut today. So.
Yeah. Well, they weren't that long last week, and you're doing the side walls. You're liking that look, huh?
Yeah. And what we like in our family, Hank the Tank, because that's what we called my son when he was a toddler, Hank the Tank. So we get a kick out of that. And speaking of that, we survived the Frosty Stomp, which I thought was like a wedding reception for kids. You know, they did the YMCA, the chicken dance.
That's where you went last week after the show.
Yeah, Alan, if you want to put that, I did share a photo. You can see they're doing there's Hank doing YMCA. So it was quite the adventure.
No, and
Ooh, it's like a little rave.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
glow sticks.
They all had glow sticks, and then rather than the alcoholic beverages, you'd go in and get a juice box and some fruit snacks. So,
all right, there's a Friday in Waukesha, Wisconsin. That's a Norman Rockwell, huh?
There you go. And then I was at the market last night. If you want to share this other picture, Alan, I commented that the belt was dirty. It was clean, but they said, yeah, but look at the crack. The belt's clean, the crack's dirty. So you see the.
You don't want a dirty crack at the grocery store. Okay.
So they were keeping the belt clean, but I said, well, what about that? Well, we don't clean that. And you can see there's a piece of food lodged in there. And
I never thought about the crack on the belt. And now I'm going to be thinking about that. Oh, Jesus.
So trying to do my part, keep reporting on clean belts.
So there was no wet spot, but there was goo-goo in the crack.
Yeah. And this was a self-checkout, the long ones where you put your stuff on there and they go 6 miles down to the end. And I looked down and went, boy, that's disturbing.
That's not a self-checkout. That was with the cashier.
No, that was self-checkout. That was
really, because the self-checkouts I've seen, the little table that they have has maybe space for 2 or 3 items.
Well, that's after you buy them. They stab the 2 or 3 items, but then you have to put your stuff on that belt, and then it goes, and
really, I've not seen that. Have you seen that, Leslie? I've just seen they're trying to get as many of those self-checkout things in as possible, so they don't have any room really to pile everything on. You put something on the belt, and then or whatever that registers that you have something, and then put it in a bag, and you keep moving that way, and they can pile 3 or 4 of those in a little space.
Yeah.
Right. And that way, the people who would otherwise be checkers are now doing all the personal shopping for people who are ordering over the interwebs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You see the longer things like that at Meier, not any relation to you, Gary. But
unfortunately,
at the Meier, and then there's a local supermarket chain up here, and that's where I was at that I saw that. So
okay. All right.
Do you go to Woodman's?
That was Woodman's. That was at Woodman's. Good call.
Over by Woodman's by there.
Yes.
Okay. Before we get to your Wisconsin report, let's pay some tribute to the fine sponsors of the program, starting with Bettenhausen Automotive.
Auto Show bonus cash all month long at Bettenhausen Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. During the President's Day sales event, Bettenhausen has huge cash savings plus Auto Show bonus cash on new 2022 Jeep Compasses, Ram 1500 Bighorn trucks, and 2021 Chrysler Pacifica models. Your best car buying experience starts now at BettenhausenCDJR.com.
Oh, okay. And if you're looking to finance your home with a mortgage, that has a process that has to happen for the most part, unless you pay cash. And I don't know a lot of people that do that. But even if you could, you're better off getting a mortgage because it enhances your credit. If you're good with your payments, you want to get things off of your credit if you're a good person with your money, right? Yeah, get your credit score up. And David knows all this stuff and his team about what credit score gets your payments lower and your refis and your VA mortgages and all that stuff. There's a lot of things I never heard about. David knows and his team knows. So call that number if you're looking for any of that stuff, 855-56-DAVID. And he has a radio show every Saturday morning, 10 Central, where he answers all those questions. And that's on AM 720 WGN in Chicago, but it streams live, so you can listen to it anywhere in the country. All right. All right, let's see what Wisconsin is up to.
It's Wisconsin, yeah, hey.
Hey, it's Friday. What else could you ask for?
Well, remember back in the old days where you used to go bowling with your friends and family, and it wasn't this high-tech experience that you actually had to keep score, and someone manually set the pins for you. Well, these days you don't have to keep score, and there's a machine that takes the pins and sets them each time you roll the ball down the alley. Well, this can also get you in trouble. Fire and police were dispatched to Fox Valley Lanes here in Waukesha, Wisconsin, because an employee got trapped in the pin setting equipment and machine. By the time fire got there, he had escaped and had minor injuries. So I wonder if he was just back there doing something and got sucked in with a piece of clothing or anything. So I'm thinking maybe you should just go back to the old days where they hired pin setters and you didn't have to worry about getting trapped in the machinery. I saw this post also on Facebook, and I thought maybe they were joking because someone said, hey, there's lots of fire and police at the bowling alley. I wonder what's going wrong. And someone said, hey, maybe someone got caught in the pin setting machine. Kind of as a joke, but it was true. So pretty scary, but makes me want to go bowling. I know how we talk about the groundhog seeing his shadow, and if he doesn't, and 6 more weeks of winter. Well, there's something in Wisconsin that indicates spring is on its way. In late February or March, the skunk cabbage comes out. It usually grows on hillsides or along streams. Like its name, it smells like a skunk, but this early on blooming flower attracts flies and other insects to begin pollination, and spring's on its way. So if you're out walking in the woods, keep an eye out for the skunk cabbage. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk next week.
And the story of the guy stuck in the pin setter made you want to go bowling. I thought that was an interesting thought.
I hadn't even thought about bowling until.
Well, I think I got to go bowling now when I hear that.
And that bowling alley I've never been to is right across from my mother-in-law's house. So it's, kind of like, oh, I've never been there, but we might have to go check it out.
Oh, so we can go visit my mother-in-law and then go bowl a few frames. Yeah.
And then go for a hike and see if we can find some skunk cabbage.
There you go.
You already got the camo. I was going to say you already got the camo all set, which
yes, I did camo that night
in video editing.
Yeah, I gave Alan a little panic when I said I had camo on. He said, "No, not camo. You'll disappear in the green screen." But it was okay.
What's with the camo? I mean, you have to, I guess, in Wisconsin have at least one outfit that's camouflage, right? It's law.
Right, and it was the day off because we had that ice storm, so I didn't have my business attire on. So I just came in that day and didn't even think of it and went, "Ooh." When Alan said, "I think you have to go re-record that again." So,
do you remember some years ago when Queen Elizabeth did a Christmas address wearing this green dress and everybody chroma keyed out her dress and put all sorts of other messages on it? I mean, if Ryan wears the wrong outfit, that's what we're ending up with.
A Queen Elizabeth moment.
Yes.
And by the way, she is still alive. There were rumors last week that she had died of the COVID, but she has not. But so here's the cool thing. They put her on light duty. Like, what? Otherwise, she would have to be scrubbing bathrooms? What the hell?
Okay, Queen, here's what we're going to do. You don't have to do any floors, windows, vacuuming. You don't have to lift anything over 50 pounds anymore. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's been on light duty, since she became queen. That's the whole point of becoming queen. Yeah,
exactly.
She's on light duty. Okay.
She just has to deal with Andrew, right? That's more than light duty.
La, 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 la. No, he's dead to her.
Yeah. And kids are snickering. Light duty. She said duty. That's light duty. Okay. All right. Are we ready to give something away? Are we done with all of our checked items?
I've checked my items.
Let's talk Star Wars.
Wait a minute. Gary. That's right. I'm sorry. Okay. Hey, this is what happens when you're halfway down. You got what are we doing? Okay. Alan went to this new attraction in Disney World, and we're going to roll vid and talk about what he saw. And this thing, if you're a Star Wars fan, this is, and I hate to use a drug reference, but it's like getting heroin, because this is it. This is
if you're a Star Wars fan and you want to live in the Star Wars world for 2 days and 2 nights and live and breathe Star Wars and interact with characters and make that all part of your story, this is for you. I got a 4-hour sampler of the 2-day experience, which is interesting in and of itself, just cramming it all into 4 hours. But yeah, we'll run the vid and talk about it at the same time because there's no audio on this vid. But if people want to hear my entire narrative, they can catch it on Mouse Planet on Instagram and Facebook. I've posted the same video with a long narrative that goes with it.
So
But
the
here we go.
concept is it's a 2-day, 2-night stay, and it's a completely immersive situation where it just goes for the 2 days. I mean,
right in this concrete hallway that you see on the screen, you leave Earth in this pod, and the pod obviously is a big elevator. And while you're in the pod, you're transported up to the Halcyon, which is the name of the ship, which is in orbit somewhere far, far away in the Star Wars galaxy. And you enter the atrium of this Starcruiser like any cruise ship you've been on. The nameplate's on the floor. The cast is all there to greet you. And when I say the cast, it's not just the Disney employees, but you'll see in various scenes as we run the vid, there's an alien there in the middle who turned out to be a musician. The captain is an alien who I got a chance to talk to. All of these people play with you the entire 2 days and 2 nights.
So you have C-3PO bringing you room service.
Well, there is a droid, and the droid I've seen in some videos serves drinks. He didn't serve drinks during our 4 hours. But, here's one of you can always recognize somebody who's in the story by their earphone and microphone, because that sort of gives away that they're not just other guests like you are. And of course, they have merchandise, which is what this is.
You got to have the gift shop. Yep. Very nice. Okay. And
I mean, in typical, there's the droid. In typical Disney backstory fashion, everything has lengthy backstory. The ship is hundreds of years old. The cruise line is famous. It ties in with all the characters from all the movies. And then characters from the more recent movies show up and things happen. It's got a bar where you can play, I think it's called Sebek or Sedek. But there's the captain and the cruise director. And it's very much like a cruise.
When you enter the building, you don't see outside until you leave 2 days later, right?
Well, if you get the full experience, and there's the First Order when they came aboard to keep an eye and look for spies. When you board the ship, you do have an excursion to land. You go visit Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, Batuu, which is back over in Hollywood Studios, which is actually very close to the physical building where this is located. We didn't get that as part of our 4-hour excursion, but they do go for that. And I understand that there's a climate simulator, which I understand actually is just a little space outdoors, but I didn't see the climate simulator. I did get to do the the lightsaber training.
Okay.
I'm not seeing any children.
Well, this was a media. This was a media event, so there were just
okay.
a hand. Somebody had an infant, which was interesting. But here's the cabin itself, and you see it's about the size of a cruise cabin.
Leslie, somebody had Baby Yoda. You didn't see that.
Oh, that would be so cute.
So wait, there's the room. Okay,
that's the room, and there's a view of space, and that's the interactive droid that you can talk to and will answer questions and tell you about elements of the story you may have missed while you've been in the cabin or while you were off doing lightsaber training. And like I said, the stormtroopers menace. Here they arrested Chewbacca. Somebody later helped him break out. Here's where the probe droid probes us, and I know you'd be into the probe droid, Garry.
Yeah,
and this was, I mean, parts of it are like a giant video game, and she's the diva. Her name is Gaia. She's got a band. She performs at dinner. She's very much from the Star Wars universe, and of course, there's a big epic battle at the end between Rey and Kylo Ren, with lightsabers and some pretty neat special effects. I didn't include the one spoiler effect because it was really a nice surprise. But you can find it out there. Lots of people posted it, and I video recorded it as well, and maybe I'll eventually post it. But those are some of the highlight scenes of it.
You told me this was in the planning for 7 years. And
yeah, they announced it in 2017. And it was in the works for 2 years before that. And it was in the works from the time they started considering building the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge land at both Disney's Hollywood Studios and at Disneyland. But only Florida gets this Starcruiser experience.
Yeah, they're not doing it in Disneyland at all.
No, I mean, and we'll talk, and the question I've been answering online is it worth the $4,800 starting point for a couple for the 2 days and 2 nights? And, the answer is, this is a one-of-a-kind experience that if you want to be in the Star Wars universe, it could be worth it. I mean, people pay tens of thousands of dollars a night to stay in Four Seasons hotels and take other vacations. And I answered on the video very honestly for myself. I don't enjoy lengthy role play. I don't enjoy cruises as a vacation in and of itself, right? I like to go explore. I go to Hawaii and go see the entire island. I don't just go see one beach or a chair or the pool. And there is no pool at the Starcruiser. So it becomes a question of, where's your budget, and do you want to live in the Star Wars universe? And this is unlike anything anybody's ever created before.
Is there a chance I run into the Mandalorian in the bar and we have a moment, and then he says, for you, I'd take my helmet off, that kind of thing?
I don't know that the Mandalorian would be on it, because he's actually a different time period. I mean, that's where Star Wars purists, people keep saying, is it authentically Star Wars? And I wrote when I wrote the script for the narration, I'm like, Star Wars fans debate whether any of the different Star Wars stuff is pure, right? There were those fans of the original trilogy. There are fans of the revised original trilogy when Lucas did his special edition.
And all that,
there's and there's the prequels and the Disney films. And so there's all these different parts of the universe. This story takes place between Disney's last two major Star Wars movies. It takes place between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. Those are episodes 8 and 9. Which is the same time period that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge takes place. So like you saw Kylo Ren and Rey battling it out. Those are the central characters of this time period. The Mandalorian is right after the time period of Return of the Jedi, which is a couple of decades earlier.
Okay.
Chewbacca's really old. That's all I mean, I don't know this. I don't know this at the depth of some people, but I know enough to be dangerous.
I have a pitch, and it's in Florida. It's going to be in Miami. And I'm going to use some of John Livesay's tools when I do the pitch. It's a Scarface immersion, and I replicate Tony Montana's mansion, and we have gun battles and big piles of what looks like coke, and you get to go through the experience. Look at her.
The helicopter ride.
The helicopter ride where a guy gets thrown out and hung.
Well, look, if Disney's successful at this, and it's too soon to tell, right? This is a brand new thing. The computer technology is cutting edge. That droid is actually just being tested. We were told that not every cruise will have that in the room droid operational. It's very advanced artificial intelligence. But if Disney is successful in this, you're going to see a lot of imitators, and at all sorts of price points. I mean, the competitor just down the road here, Universal Studios, has rights to Harry Potter. And you know how many kids want to live in Hogwarts and that world, right? And I mean, Gary's idea probably isn't far off. Vegas already had things like the CSI experience. Can you imagine the directions Vegas could go with adult-themed immersive entertainment? And I mean, here for the GarrForce, we could have the Garry Meier Cocktail Hour Live immersive experience.
We're doing it right now.
Yeah, maybe fund some better equipment for the show,
So, Alan, you couldn't role play for 2 solid days. And I'll tell you what, after I play the pilot for a few hours, I say to my wife, okay, I'm the airline pilot. A couple hours have gone by. Should we land now? Or what? Is that what you're saying?
More or less. I mean, people like to say they'll play the violin for those of us in the media who go through these things, but compressing 2 days worth of activities into 4 hours is pretty strenuous. But even putting that aside, and we didn't go into full role-playing mode. We actually had a host or a hostess who came with us throughout the day who said, okay, now imagine this much time has jumped and we're here. And then the next scene would start.
And Alan, I'm exhausted. What was that drink you were holding up?
That one was non-alcoholic. It was some sort of blue space concoction. I did have one alcoholic beverage towards the end, but I missed the description of it because in the middle of actually starting to sip it, the red alert, whatever the equivalent in the Star Wars universe is, went off, and we were ordered to the atrium by the First Order, who had taken over the ship. And it was in time to see the epic battle and then get kicked off the ship. So I never did find out exactly. I think somebody said Tito vodka. That was involved in the mix. But
Garry, does this remind you of those days when you used to go up to the Renaissance Fair and
would ye like a turkey leg?
Would ye and thee everybody for?
Would ye like some lemonade?
That's it. I mean, I've never done a Renaissance Fair. I don't think I could.
Oh,
I don't.
God, you're missing something. Hey, listen, if Putin went to this, he might have gotten his rocks off with this and not killed people. And taken over.
I mean, we've got a precedent to follow if you want to be historical about Russia and Disney. Disney did not let Khrushchev visit Disneyland when he came to the States to speak at the UN, and it apparently really pissed him off. So maybe something like that is underlying all the tensions these days. Maybe Putin wanted to go visit Disney, and Disney said no. I don't know.
Well, this is actually, I mean, I know I'm talking after 2/3 of Manhattan, but if these guys that need to get their rocks off doing what they do, how about something like this, some kind of virtual, I can go kill people and really nobody gets hurt and just spend a few days and then I'm satisfied.
Well, escapist entertainment is wonderful for that. I mean, Disney's always had that sort of bubble around it where back in the 70s and 80s, you really didn't know what was going on in the real world. Now, everybody's carrying around one of these. So even in the parks, the real world intrudes. And on the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser, you need to use one of these if you're playing in roles. And so you're going to have an opportunity to have the real world interfere. We weren't using these except for photos and video and whatnot. And so it was 4 hours where I was fortunately not aware of what was going on. And it was a nice little escape.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, Alan. And I
Alrighty.
think we're ready to give something away here, which would be the wine condom and the cork that's got lights on it.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have taken myself out of the stream. I should have just turned off my camera. Let me put the selector on the screen. Well, I had other stuff on the screen, so I gotta push a couple of buttons, and there we go. Right? Oh, I gotta push one more button to get that on the screen. There we go. Ready?
Here we go. Ready.
All right, here we go.
Chris Wilson.
Chris Wilson's on YouTube. So if you've got a Facebook account, send Gary a private message on Facebook. If you don't have a Facebook account, text Gary at 773-888-2157. Regular charges apply. Or email him at GarryMeierShow@GarryMeier.com. And Leslie will take care of you.
All right.
However, Leslie takes care of our winners.
That's what she does.
Yes, for the whole immersive experience, you'll have to pay a little bit more.
I was going to say our immersive experience doesn't include Leslie coming to your place to put the condom on the wine bottle.
Oh, wow. Now you can charge
Although for the right
$4,800
price,
for that.
yeah, let's start
How does
thinking about this.
$4,800 sound for that, huh? Hey, that's it. Thank you for watching, and we're back on Monday. Cheers, everybody. Hope you have a great weekend. I'm going to put all this shit aside, and nothing we can do about it, right? What am I supposed to do?
Well, I do have the moment of Zen that I can always cue up here. Here it comes. Ready?
What is it?
It's the moment of Zen.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right.
And a punchki, yeah.
And a punchki. It's either
I got one of those too. Wait, I gotta go back to that. Here we go. Ready? You want it out or in, Gary? Out or in?
I'll go in.
Okay.
Oh, I just went out of a punchki. And cannoli still available. Take one of those. Oh boy. Stop it. I'm role playing right now. And it is, there it is. The cannoli's there too. And what about the schnauzer?
Will that be part of the Scarface? No, that wouldn't be part. That would be part of the Godfather experience. We're gonna golly,
we can do a lot of these different virtual things. What about the schnauzer? How virtual can we go on that?
I would get my schnauzer and get it involved in some sort of role-playing experience, but only with good friends, obviously.
I love the way you kind of. I would get the schnauzer and have role-playing and
only adults. It would be a different thing when the kids are there.
That's right, and get the punchkis out and roll around.
Don't mess with the Wookiee.
Thank you for watching. It is time to release the gear. Gear is down, flaps are down. It's 3 in the green. The GarrForce, have a great weekend, has landed.
If you like that, I got other stuff I think you're going to like. This is the GarrForce